afternoon and welcome to the NCC Newsroom at the Newhouse School of Public Communications. I'm Louise Rath.
And I'm Josh Golden. You're watching Democracy in Action, a project in its 13th year of covering elections. This is our second of 6 live streams covering the election day in Onondaga County. We're live on OTN and on the Democracy in Action website.
We have dozens of reporters at polling places in central New York covering the 2022 midterm races. NCC News' Gabe Carr-Johnson tells us what's happening at the voting site at Nottingham High School.
We're live outside Nottingham High School, where the scenes here are a little iffy. The parking lot is full of people. There's people all inside the school, but no one is inside the voting center. Now, it is early on in the day, so people still have time to get off of work and come vote. But the scene is pretty scary here. Democracy in Action, Gabe Carr-Johnson.
Gabe, thank you. Polls are open until 9 p.m. tonight across New York State.
Before even making the decision on who to vote for, voters need to know what forms of ID to bring with them to the polls. Onondaga County Democratic Elections Commissioner Dustin Zarni lets you know what you need to cast your ballots.
There's several things that act as ID. Of course, your driver's license acts as ID. Your lease, a utility bill with your name on and address on it acts as ID.
All first-time voters in New York State will be required to show identification in order to cast their votes.
And our coverage across polling sites in Onondaga County continues. Our own Kennedy Houston is live at the Armand Magnarelli Community Center. Kennedy?
I'm at the Magnarelli Community Center today. I spoke with the polling site manager, and he said that there has been about a steady stream of people coming in. Approximately 361 people have come in to vote today. He does take into account that there has been early voting going on, which is why it is not so busy. As you can see, it isn't so busy today. There's a lot of people who are not here right now. It could be that it's early in the day, but as I said, the polling site manager did say that they have been seeing a steady stream of people. In Syracuse, Kennedy Houston, Democracy in Action.
Kennedy, thank you.
With early voting starting, you should be careful with using your phone. According to the Milwaukee Journal Centennial, a Wisconsin man faces 3.5 years in prison and up to $10,000 fine for posting a picture of his ballot. Democracy Watch reporter James Papayan is live with more on ballot selfies.
Taking pictures of filled-out ballots and posting them online, or ballot selfies, is a growing trend. People taking these selfies range from celebrities to even my own dad, who sent me this photo this morning. If these photos had shown a filled-out ballot, then it would be illegal. Onondaga County election officials say it has to do with older laws.
Most of the concern comes from these anti-bribery laws from the early 1900s, that where union officials and businesses were paying people extra to prove to who they voted for.
However, ballot selfies also bring up issues with the First Amendment and free speech. Roy Gutterman is the head of the Tully Center for Free Speech at Syracuse University.
People express themselves not only verbally but through photos and social media. And if you take a picture of yourself voting and post it on social media, that's a form of First Amendment protected activity as well.
So what's the difference between saying who you voted for and posting a selfie with a filled-out ballot? Zarni says it has to do with the ballot itself.
One thing is free speech. The other thing is actually taking a photo of an election instrument, an election property. That ballot is not your property. It is the property of the boards of elections. They can't leave.
Zarni also says to play it safe and take a selfie before you fill out your ballot, or try to not show who you voted for on your ballot. Depending on where you live in Onondaga County, voters will have different people on the ballot today for New York State Senators.
Our Zach Richter joins us now in studio with more. Zach?
Thanks, guys. Now, depending on if you're voting in the north or the south in Onondaga County, you're going to have different people on the ballot for New York State Senator. So let's take a look at the north. You see how all the north here is in District 50? You go a little bit to the south, and you're all the way in District 48 by just a couple of blocks. This is downtown Syracuse right here, and you're in District 48, so you're going to have the incumbent Rachel May on the ballot. You go a little bit north towards Newcourt Avenue and Teal, and then all of a sudden, you have totally different people on the ballot for New York State Senator. And in District 50, we have John For District 48, we have Julie Abbott, the Republican, and Rachel May for the Democrat. And then in District 50, we have Rebecca Shuroff, and then we have John Mannion. So it could literally be less than a block of a difference in the same county, and your ballot will look completely different for New York State Senator. Now, these New York State Senator district lines are new with these midterm elections being the first year they will be used. Justice Patrick McAllister ordered the new district lines back in May of this year. Josh, Louise, I'll send it back over to you.
Zach, thank you. Heading into Election Day, polls are favoring Francis Knoll over Brandon Williams in the battle for New York's 22nd congressional district seat. 538, a website that aggregates polls on all elections in the country, says Williams led in the polls all through October. November first saw the first swing in favor of Knoll. He has held that lead in polls heading into today.
And looking now at the race for Onondaga County Sheriff, where voters will elect a new sheriff for the first time in 8 years. Republican Esteban Gonzalez and Democrat Toby Shelley have both focused on school safety throughout their campaigns. Gonzalez's plan includes creating a school safety division, while Shelley touts a plan to place retired police officers in schools that want to have one. While midterms see a lower voter turnout than presidential years, plenty of people still got out to cast their ballots. Our reporter Tegan Brown spoke with a few of them in the northern suburbs.
In North Syracuse, neighbors were up early, and while most people walking in the doors were of voting age, some brought along the younger ones in their family.
Well, I think it's important for everyone to get out and vote, and the younger you take children to see how the process works, the better it is than when they become adults.
While voters may have different opinions from one another, people like David Lucido say it's a privilege to be able to voice them.
It's our right to be able to say who runs our government and who makes our decisions for us. So they're our representatives, and it's, you know, as you look around the world, and there's so many people that don't have that right. So it is very important.
According to Pew Research, turnout for the midterms in 2018 was higher than the previous midterm elections. But voters like Nancy say even more people should cast their ballot.
It affects everything. Every vote affects everything. You can't just say, oh, it's midterm, it doesn't matter, because it does. Those people are going to be in office for 4 years, 2 years.
Tegan Brown, NCC News.
Thanks, Tegan. Now that we've got you covered with the local scoop, let's shift to some nationwide races.
So here's some more information on some of the closest races occurring across the country right now. In Pennsylvania, Democratic Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman is in a tight race with Republican opponent Dr. Mehmet Oz. Fetterman is recovering from a stroke he suffered before the May primary that left him struggling with his speech. Oz, a TV celebrity and heart surgeon, trailed by Fetterman in double digits over the summer, but since then he's made up some ground. Republicans are trying to hold on to the seat in the state. President Biden won by just 1% in 2020. This race is a toss-up.
Another closely watched battle is happening in Georgia. Republican Herschel Walker is up against Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock. The economy has been the top issue for voters in Georgia, according to a recent poll by the University of Georgia. This race is critical for both parties in the battle for control in the Senate.
And in Arizona, Democratic Senator Mark Kelly is facing off against Republican candidate Blake Masters. Kelly, the former astronaut and U.S. Navy pilot, is defending his seat in hopes of winning his first full term in the Senate. Masters, the Stanford-educated venture capitalist, is a first-time candidate who can tip the balance of power to the Republicans. This race is considered a toss-up as of now.
Finally, another razor-thin race comes in the state of Wisconsin. Republican Senator Ron Johnson is squaring up against Democratic Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, and it could come down to the wire. Johnson is getting a boost from voters concerned about crime and economic issues, but Barnes has strong support from voters who see abortion as one of the top issues. The polls close at 9 p.m.
And that does it for the 2 p.m. Democracy in Action cut-in. For more information, go to our website and follow our Twitter at Democracy in Action. I'm Louise Rath.
And I'm Josh Golden. Stay tuned for our next cut-in at 4 p.m. Thanks for watching.